I know some of you been wondering why I haven't said anything about Paul Mooney and Richard Pryor Jr. Is because I want to get all the facts. Because I question anything that anybody tells me that happened over 40 some years ago. Okay? Or even 10 years ago, 5 years ago. See, Paul Mooney hasn't been in the public eye for about a good 5 years or so because the rumor has it his health is deteriorating. And right now, all of a sudden, you get a former bodyguard come out talking about a tell-all. Why now? Why now? Well, I can tell you why now. Paul Mooney's not going to be able to put up a fight if he's sick the way they say he is. See, people go after you when you're vulnerable. Just like when they went after Bill Cosby. They knew Bill Cosby was up in age, and his health was deteriorating, his vision is a part of his health. They figured he won't put up a fight. And this is what's going on right now. Now, if Paul Mooney did what he's accused of, then Paul Mooney was low down, or is low down. But I'm going to give Paul Mooney the benefit of the doubt because all these years, nobody said anything. All these years when people was Paul Mooney gay and whatnot, and Paul Mooney got mad when people said it, this guy and other could say, no, we know better. The last few years we've been hearing rumors about Richard Pryor and Paul Mooney. I'm like, why? Richard Pryor been dead going on what? 14 years now. And you guys want to talk about his sexuality or he went both ways and everything. Then his widow, she joins in and amen stuff. But this same widow is out to talk about Bill Cosby and all these other people. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. And yet at the same time, Richard Jr. saying, yeah, he could have easily said no comment and kept it moving. Because I don't believe in talking crap years later when you had an opportunity to say something 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago when your father was alive. When Paul was getting his career was getting his name was getting put back out there again. They said the Chappelle show. You could easily came out and say, yo, hey man, Paul ain't what y'all think he is. Yeah, he talk all that black power stuff, but this dude took advantage of me as a child. And let me tell you, and I'm gonna say something else. When I hear people say, take advantage of somebody, a lot of times people haven't been taken advantage of. A lot of times people was willing participants. But if you're of a certain age, I get it. They figure you're young, you don't know no better, you're young, the person manipulated you. But if you read the various stories, one minute they make it like he was a little boy, and another thing he said, well, Richard Pryor was in the hospital in the early 80s and whatnot. Okay, around that time. Either way, if I'm doing my math correct, he was in his early 20s. He's 58, 59 years old now, Richard Jr. He's down to 60. So let's do it like this. Let's see, 2019, he's 58, right? 2009, he's 48. 1999, he's 38. 1989, he's 28. So 1979, he's 18. So between 18 and let's say 23. Then just put it that way, because some people said he was 22 when it happened. He's not a kid, he's a man. But even at the age of 18, he may be young, but he could have said, yo, and then father friend or not, I would push back. But then again, because this is his father friend, they known each other and hung out, he probably was afraid to say something to his father. So I can understand if that happened. Because Ty Bridges went through the same situation where his father friend took advantage of him, and he tried to tell his father, and his father didn't want to hear it. Because your father don't want to hear that the guy you hanging around, even if he suspect the guy may be gay or may have some bisexual, freaking tendencies, you don't want to be like, man, what kind of man am I? Now, maybe Richard Pryor got years told his son to let nobody know about this. But now my thing is that Richard is gone. Paul is what they said in bad shape. And now it's being brought up. What's the point? Now, maybe Richard Jr. and the bodyguards saying we're going to get paid for this. But if you notice, only people that's been talking about this has been within the black community. See, if this came out around the whole start of Me Too movement crap, time's up. This probably against you. That means CNN, MSNBC, and it'll be more invested because Paul Mooney was everywhere at one time. Paul Mooney was out there being critical of Michael Richardson, and he threw his back in his face. They don't care anymore. And I guess the brother said, I'm going to go out here and get the Me Too thing. Do what Terry Crews and let me go out here and say Paul Mooney did this. Paul Mooney don't have that name recognition with these younger folks that he do at our age and our parents and grandparents' age. He just don't. It don't register that way. But the thing is to sit there now and say, oh, by the by, he did this. I question timing. Now, Paul could have very well did what they said he did. And I want to be fair to both sides. But now you got Vlad TV putting out old interviews with other black comics talking about Paul Mooney. See, I don't like that. See, that's how people start taking sides. And we can have, and the thing is, this should be a further discussion about homosexuality within our community and what's done in the gay community. These are conversations that need to be had, but I wish we would have them outside, away for somebody well known to be attacked or be criticized. Now I say this again: if Paul Mooney did what he did years ago, it's karma finally caught up with him. But the thing is that I find the timing suspect. You wait till this man get up in age now, having health issues, and say, let me go write a book about Paul Mooney. Because when Paul Mooney wrote his book about himself and talking about Richard Pryor, he never said anything negative about Richard. The guy said that Richard did all the stuff Paul never did anything with Richard, and various other articles I'm reading. I'm like, that's bullshit. Because I remember they wrote an episode of Sanford Son together. I can't remember what episode it was. They worked together for a long time. Paul wrote the jokes and Richard told him, or he fine-tuned the jokes. It was the reason why Paul Mooney was around. Now, if Paul and Richard was intimate and whatnot, because there's a joke where Richard joked to him about his sexuality years ago, and I think it was a roast or something, if I remember correctly. This is back in the 70s, way before some of us even born. But the fact remains is, we could find out later that Richard was going both ways too. So maybe Richard and Paul had a thing with each other. I'm just speculating. And there's also just speculating that Paul may not even be gay. He just may be one of those dudes that come across with some feminine movements or qualities sometimes. But the older you get, the more it shows up. Because you're not hiding it anymore. But I know Paul takes it personal when people go there with him. Because if y'all remember, a comic was making jokes about Paul. And Paul, he said something about, Paul, are you gay? Something to that effect. And Paul got mad because Paul had his sons right there next to him. You know what I mean? Or maybe he might be one of those dudes that denied what was obvious to everybody else. But the thing is, my thing is, before we start jumping down and saying Paul is guilty or Richard Jr. is lying, we need to start asking ourselves some questions. There's a possibility it could happen. But my thing is, why wait 40-some years to say something? Why wait 30-some, depending on what year it happened? If it happened in the 70s, you know it's 40-some years ago. If it happened in the 80s, it's 30-some years ago. So let's say 35 to 40 years ago. Let's just look at it like that. My thing is, why now? See, when I start hearing people talk about things that never been mentioned before, I get suspicious of their time. And they may have me telling the truth. But you're like, why haven't you said anything before? Why now? Why would you wait till now to say something? Because you want to destroy somebody's reputation and legacy. That's why Eddie Griffin said in an interview, we never leave here clean. They make sure that black men don't walk out of here clean. Why do you think they may try to dirty up Dr. King's legacy, Malcolm X? Why do you think they talk about certain blacks in revered tones and certain blacks in negative tones? Because they know eventually if you say it long enough, people will believe it and start regurgitating lies and distortions. And a lot of times people regurgitate these things and they mean well, but they don't understand it being used. This is why I always say control your dollar, know your history. I remember for years out here on YouTube, I was telling people about the Emmett Till thing. I'm like, the story y'all being told is not the complete and true story. I said, there wasn't just the white guys participating in that murder of Emmett Till. People got mad at me. I'm like, why are you getting mad at me for saying so? I said, listen to the cousin story. The cousin story don't even add up. They say Emmett went in there whistling. Like somehow coming from Chicago, that you got black boys and black guys who just mess with white females. That's that myth that the North racism is different than the Southern racism. Nope. Emmett had a stuttering problem. He used to be able to get where he used to whistle. And then 60-something years later, the lady come out and say, oh, that didn't happen none of the way she described it. So that means Emmett never whistled. So his cousins were telling a lie to cover their ass. And I told y'all that. But people got mad at me. I'm like, I'm telling y'all, you got to step back and use common sense. Guys, I ain't going to lie to you. Listening to what the guy said, it sounds pretty convincing that Paul Mooney could have done what he did. But at the same time, I got to put my prejudices aside or other histories aside. When I mean prejudice, because I stated it in the video when Jesse Smollett would first accuse somebody of attacking him, I said, you know, in the gay community is known to lie or have people what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even get. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh, I went blank on what I was looking for. Make things, I just would say this, make things bigger than what they truly are. Okay? And I'm pretty sure somebody knows what I'm talking about. Will help me in the comment section. So I say thank you for you put the word up. But the thing is that I said it. And I had to catch myself sometimes because you had to, sometimes I said I hate putting disclaimers. But now you gotta put disclaimers because there are people that I know who are gay and lesbian who do not carry themselves that way and who are good people. And the people I've had conversations with over the years, and they would tell me certain things, and they would point out things that I may have noticed as a straight person, but was probably afraid to say because we live in a society where if you're straight and you criticize somebody gay, they're gonna call you homo bashing. Or homophobic, and I'm not any of those things. I mean, I agree with homosexuality, but I'm not going to sit here and just go after somebody because they're gay. It's just too easy. And if Paul Mooney is gay, he's been denying it for years, and it come out that he messed around with his best friend's son, that's the worst of the worst. But I want to give Paul Mooney the benefit of the doubt because you question the timing. Because I just find it funny that there's a certain group of black men they've gone after in recent years, especially the ones who've been vocal about our people and our community, whether they be straight or gay. And you know there's a number of black men making this perk walk, so you had to step back and say, okay, this former bodyguard saying, Paul, why did he bring this up? What's the point of bringing this part of his story? He could have talked about everything else but this. Think about it for a second. Did him and Paul have it out? Did him and Paul have some words years ago, and he just bided this time when he figured this would sell more, this would be more salacious, and people out to notice them, the so-called mainstream media haven't talked about this yet. They don't care because it's not affecting a white person. It's not affecting somebody well-known. Paul Mooney is known among the black community. Think about it. When they talk about George Carlin, and they don't talk about Paul Mooney, they talk about Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle. Now Patrice O'Neal, because he's gone, because so many comics have stolen the man's material since he did. But that's what other black comics do they talk about? Oh yeah, Kevin Hart, but yeah, but still, I'm talking about, they don't talk about Paul Mooney and them other cats from that area. It wasn't just Richard Pryor, but Richard was the one that stood out the most because when he came out, he was more geared to like Bill Cosby type comedy. But Paul Mooney and Richard know each other. It was there. It was like two peas in a pod back in the day. And I could have sworn over the years, in recent years, I did see Paul in pictures around Richard Pryor. Now, maybe my mind playing tricks on me, or maybe I saw something I thought I saw. Because it does happen, you know, from time to time. But when Richard was alive, I didn't hear nothing negative come out of Richard's mouth about Paul or anybody around him. And I just find it suspect now that things are being said. And you got folks on YouTube saying, yeah, it's true. Let's be careful, brothers and sisters. Because look how a lot of y'all went out here threw Cosby on the bus, and now y'all starting to see what me and others warned was going to happen with the whole thing with Bill Cosby. Stuff wasn't adding up. People had agendas. Look what we just saw they do with Michael Jackson. Look how a lot of y'all said Russell Simmons left the country. Just the other day, him and his ex Kamora was taking their youngest daughter to I forget what university somewhere. I think it's in New York somewhere. But y'all swapping down at Russell's and Hyde. That was the thing that was put out there on the internet. See, we have to be careful not to give the so-called dominant ammunition to use against us, but at the same time, those black men, black women, black children in our community who do dirt and then try to deflect or try to say, hey, look over there. Don't look at what's going on right here. Look over there. Like I said, maybe Paul Mooney, he could have done this. Anything's possible. But I just question the damn timing of it. And when I was just like, things that make you go, I'm gonna say this again. If any young brothers and sisters hear this, if you have been a victim of some sexual assault by a teacher, clergy, family member, whoever, you need to say something to somebody. Well, people don't be mad at me. Let them be mad at you, but you got it out there so people know it. So if this stuff ever come back up and somebody say, hey, you know, Uncle such and such, or Auntie such and such, or Mr. and Mrs. such and such did this to me, people say, wait a minute. Years ago, this kid said something at the risk of his reputation, her reputation. They went to the police department. They did something. Send back 40-something years, man. That made me suspect. Send back 10 years. It made me suspect. Because what are you trying to get out of it now? And a lot of people say, well, they felt brave enough to come forward. Okay. But you have to remember, back in the 70s, back in the 60s, back in the 50s, even the 40s, they were doing films at schools about stranger danger, the gays, and hook it up and party stuff. I remember when I was a kid, the TV shows that did that very special episode, Facts of Life, Different Strokes, Give Me a Break. They had the ABC After School Special, ABC Weekend Special. They had the school break, so like the CBS version of After School Special, what they call it. We've seen episodes of Webster and Mr. Belvedere, Punky Brewster. Hell, even the new Leave It to Beaver, they even did episodes talking about burning the candle at both ends, you know, relationships, put yourself risky. Even though it wasn't like what the Different Strokes did with Dudley and Arnold and old boy from WKRP in Cincinnati, you know what I mean? The bike guy, you know what I mean? They even did an episode where Sam character for Different Strokes was kidnapped when they moved from NBC to ABC. Remember, this was the age television. Growing Pains did one of those episodes. Different World did an episode when old boy played You Are the Last Dragon, tried to rape Freddie. Remember that episode? Yeah, those of us remember when we first watching it first aired. Go, Freddie, go! Wait, Freddie, wait! You remember that? So I find it hard to believe that children of the 1970s, even the 80s, didn't know nothing about stranger danger or inappropriate touching. When I was in kindergarten, I remember my mother and father told me, I first was by them, they said, son, don't let anybody touch your private. When you had to use the bathroom, who in the bathroom with you to help you unbutton your pants? Because they explained, because I remember, I'm not going to say that the primary teacher and the teacher assistant, I remember, little boys, we had problems sometimes with our belts. And I remember the assistant would unbutton our pants and belt. She never pulled them down. She would help us unbutton, because sometimes little kids' bladders are weak. I remember and they told the parents what they do that. And that was at that time, that was acceptable. Now today, you hear about little kids wetting on themselves because teachers ain't going there. Because it's too much implication. That's why you do not see a lot of male teachers teaching preschool, kindergarten stuff. It's too risky. This is why most men don't want to be hugged. Like oh, you have a niece that like to sit on your lap. Most men will, at a certain point, baby, go get down. I can't pick you up. Believe me, and I've talked about this before, where my cousins, the girls, will get to a certain age, you can't hug them, pick them up, you can't do things, because people will start to imply shit. That's why Michael Jackson's character is still under attack today, because we live in a society where people like to imply things. And I'm telling y'all right now, whatever y'all may think of Paul Mooney, let's be careful not to destroy a man's character. That's not anything. At the same time, we got to be wise enough to say, okay, if Paul did what he did and Richard and them knew about it, why did they go to the police? And then why now? A lot of it, I think, is this Me Too times up thing. Everybody getting seen, want to get paid or want to be in front of the cameras. Now, like I said, Paul did what he did. Karma finally caught up with him, and whatnot. But I don't know. I know people say people do things their own way, their own time. But if something happened to me traumatic, and I knew it, and I didn't say anything, I take it to my grave. That's just me, and I just hope that I pray that the person that did something to me, they get theirs in the end, or if they don't come back on something, I can visually see it and touch them some way. And it has happened to people where people have crossed me and tried to hurt me and stuff, and I sat back, I said, I may not see it, I may not get you, but I might hear about it down the line. And people might say, oh, dude, it's like you wishing harm on somebody. If somebody did harm to you, you have every right in the world. If somebody hurt you, you have every right in the world that want to be and hate them and want to seek revenge. But my thing is, do you do it in the public way? Let me give you an example. Years ago, I've said this before, everybody's had a bully at some point. And these guys were bullies in the traditional sense. They never touched me. They just talk shit about me. I come to find out why. And because a lot of these dudes didn't have their daddies around. And if they did have them around, their fathers wasn't active. A lot of times, their fathers were really older dudes that got hooked on that bottle. Excuse me. These dudes just give me the blues. Well, last year I found out that one of the dudes passed on. They never said how he passed on, but I said that's a young way to go. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And I'm not gonna lie to you. In some sick, twisted way, I took pleasure in it. I'm being honest. Remember, we're human beings. We can be vindictive. We can be evil. We can be hateful. Even I can be that way at times. I try not to be. Usually I catch myself, don't think that way, don't be that way. I also had an incident where I had a former teacher that died the year before last that tried to make my senior high school miserable. When that person passed, I'm not going to lie, I smiled. Now y'all was damn Harvey. And I sat there, but did I go out there and make a bunch of videos or go out there and tell friends, like, that person deserved to die because they did this to me? No. People say, hey, you heard about such and such? Oh, yeah. I kind of smirk. And God forgive me for doing that way. You guys forgive me for being that way. I'm just being honest. But I'm not going to write no tell-all book about it. Maybe down the line I might say, yeah, this incident happened to me, but, you know, I didn't let it define who I am. You know, I'm not trying to destroy a person's character. That's why I haven't used a person's name. That's why I haven't mentioned anybody's name. If somebody touched me in an inappropriate way and I didn't say nothing to my parents or any teachers or any law enforcement, why say something now? I might say, yo, I had an unfortunate experience with an adult or something. I won't say who or what because the person either going to be dead more than likely, or people going to say, well, you have no way of proving it. So that's why I sit back when I hear people say certain things. I sort of like, what would I do? And maybe I'm a little bit more rational with it. Or maybe I overthink things. But I'm going to tell you something. If you're a black guy, and usually we tell our family members, now I know this is a myth that we don't talk about it in our community, but we do, depending on where you grew up and who you grew up with. You've said something to somebody at some point, or you act out some behavior. It's just maybe just my family and your family may just be different or have the same type of personality. Because I've talked to people over the years and they said my mom and dad do this. We talked about this. Now the reaction may not be what we want it to be, but it just the thing is right now I just question Richard Pryor Jr. and saying yeah it happened, and then his mother as stepmother come out and said, yeah, it happened. It said at Richard's funeral or whatever. I think they said it. And I'm like, so this was said in 2005. Why are we not just hearing about it in 2019? That means you're looking for money. And look, you mean destroy somebody's reputation and career. I don't care how bad the situation is. This should be a private thing. is everything shouldn't be put out on social media in front of the cameras. Because the thing is, this is why so many people in our community shut down when it comes down to talking about or speaking about certain things, because everybody want to put on a show. And I think it's dangerous to do that, because you can destroy somebody's livelihood, you can mess with their family, you can mess with friendships, because right now there's always going to be suspicion. Just look at Michael Jackson. Man, been dead 10 years, but everybody like Michael Jackson's alive and well right now, and he can speak up for himself. Look what we did with R. Kelly. We knew about him and Aaliyah and young underage girls for years. That's something that's new in Hollywood, the music industry. But all of a sudden, because R. Kelly is out there with younger dudes and can out-sing perform them, we got to shut that dude down. And then people like us who sit back and see if everything for what it is, we get attacked because we're a little bit more rational. Because last year, they wasn't going after him because of underage girls. They was going after him from so-called grown-ass women around him. When they couldn't use that narrative, they said, okay, speak with little girls. And there's been this documentary, everybody's angry now. See, I don't like that type of outrage. I mean, stick to subject. Now, like I said, if Paul did what he did years ago, and Richard Jr. was underage, and Richard Pryor, all these people knew about it, why didn't y'all go around fighting and say, yo, man, don't work with Mr. Mooney. Mr. Mooney did this with Richard's son at such time and whatnot. Don't wait till you get up and damn near half past dead and do this now. That means you looking for money. At least they're looking for money out of this man's estate. Because I'm telling you right now, when you start having, if this is true, what they said, this bothering Paul, you know you don't got a lot of time on this planet. When they start talking about Alzheimer's, you know you probably got maybe a good 5 or 6 years on this planet, if that. Because you deteriorate fast. If that's what they said that is going on with Paul Mooney. Or Paul could just be chilling at that age, like, I don't need to do no more touring anymore. I don't need to go home. But I noticed that you got black putting up interviews with other black people, and I'm telling you right now, we got to be careful when they start doing stuff like that, because that means you gossiping. That's why me and a fellow YouTuber was talking about this, and I said we have to be really careful when we do this, because you don't want to add or take away from some. Like I said, I want to give Paul the benefit of the doubt, but I also want to give Richard Jr. the benefit of the doubt. But my thing is, I question the timing of this coming up. I really do. So I'm asking y'all to just step back and start to observe instead of respond to everything. If you're going to respond in fairness. Because I remember I did it with the Bill Cosby, and I kept saying y'all need to step back and really listen. I'm telling y'all, they're manipulating a lot of y'all. And now you see people complaining about what they did to Cosby. Because it's obvious. It is too obvious. I told you right now it's a hunt on for black men, especially black men that have been vocal about the going-ons in our community. And Paul Mooney has been one of those dudes. So you never know when somebody say, you know what? We went out there, but let's go after Paul Mooney now. Because it would make sense, because his video is still floating around. His stuff still sells on iTunes. Remember, for about 4 or 5 years, you couldn't escape Paul Mooney anymore. He was everywhere. Now people say, what if Paul Mooney is proving that he did it? Then Richard Jr. should be the one that goes out there. And then those of us who have respected Paul Mooney's voice, we just know he had to put an asterisk by his name and say, you know what, he talked that game, and he said a lot of truthful things, but he had a dark side to him. If shit came out about Michael Jackson that's provable, then I'll try and say, yo, all them years it took up for him, I guess I was wrong. See, I have no problem admitting my mistakes or sitting back saying, maybe I didn't see it from this angle. But we have to be careful not to just guilt black men straight up gay because somebody said something. Like I said, Richard Pryor has been dead 14 years. And I'm trying as hard as I can to remember him and Paul having any public dust-ups. Just something to think about, folks.